Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Game number 2 of CDEC versus Energy Pacemaker, ready to rock and roll. As we mentioned before the break, this is do or die for Energy Pacemaker. Exciting. I know you're excited, Parker. You love these elimination games.
It's good. It's juicy.
It's juicy, yeah.
And EP are a fun team in an elimination game because they'll pull out something crazy. That's what we saw yesterday. They were kind of back against the wall against Wings. They lost game 1, and then game 2 they went all in push. Game 3 they went for a Dro IO type weird draft. So I'm curious to see if they have something planned here.
Yeah, and we've also got our panel back with us here, Basekip and Sheever. So coming into game 2, we had our predictions at the end of that last break. Everyone seemed to be favoring CDEC pushing forward here, but I guess we'll change the question to what does Energy Pacemaker need to do to stay in this series and take it to an ace match?
I feel like a lot of it comes down to having a pre-made strategy maybe that they're comfortable with. It depends, of course, what they get through. I think their first pick this time around, so
yes.
that should help out a little bit in terms of getting one of those big heroes that they really want.
Is this the big hero that they really want, Cameron?
If we were going to be seeing a first pick Earthshaker, I thought it would be from CDEC, but what do you know? It's Energy Pacemaker favoring it as well. We've got Wisp again banned out. I think that's pretty heads up from CDEC. You don't want to give EP that hero. What's going to make it through here? I guess Queen of Pain, Shadow Fiend is also available. Though notably this time around the Drow's not going to be making it through. So
Now what I really want to see from Energy Pacemaker is what Gods also said when they were with their backs against the wall yesterday. They pulled out some stuff, and I really liked seeing the Jakiro being played. I really hope that they can pull out a strat with that again, because they don't seem to be thriving well with fights and just combative Dota. They're more objective Dota perhaps, and Jakiro can really help with that. Extra control as well.
Yeah, you know, we didn't mention it in the last draft, but Gyro was ignored for a lot of... I don't know if he got banned out in that second phase, though. I don't think so. I think it was just a Gyro-less game, which is a little surprising.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Seeing him first in the first banning category here feels a little more
Drow
comfortable.
gets first picked, and Gyro is not a good matchup versus Drow in general. It's hard to get in close to a Drow. And I think that's where you first pick the Drow, the other team... You're not going to take Gyro plus Drow, and the other team's less likely to take Gyro as a result of the Drow pick.
Oh, boy. CDEC going for a little global Dota here with the Ancient Apparition Clockwork opener. Two very potent heroes, and this is one scene where we'll actually see first pick Ancient Apparitions somewhat regularly. Still not the most common thing, but it could be very scary.
And I feel like more for CDEC than a lot of other teams as well. They do seem to favor the Ancient Apparition a decent amount. The Clockwork, of course, is really solid against Earthshaker, and I feel like in general in this qualifier, we've seen Clockwork get away with a lot. Pretty much every Clockwork game that I've seen, he's managing to pick up his level 6 quite early on in the game, go and pick up that first kill and really just get the ball rolling. And you even compare that to an offlane like Darksu, who I feel comparatively has struggled a lot this qualifier, though of course can always kind of recover in the jungle.
And Energy Pacemaker yesterday also in a game where they did win full push, they were the ones to ban out Ancient Apparition in the first phase because they just don't like to play against it, because they do play objective Dota, and if you are 5-man pushing and you get an Ancient Apparition ulti in your head, well, that push is going to be over very fast.
Definitely one of the better anti-pushing heroes. EP did grab Queen of Pain with their second, so ES Quap, an interesting opener, but perhaps this... I don't know what that's indicative of, honestly. Just a solid support and a solid core.
The ES, I mean, partly a deny pick against CDEC, and also something that helped win them Game 3 yesterday. They didn't run as a support. They did run it in the off lane. So
you're right, actually.
I think EP not going to... They probably haven't even committed to where Earthshaker is going yet. They're probably just saying, well, we may run as support, maybe the off lane. Let's wait and see what other heroes and picks we get. CDEC, the Clockwork AA was the same opening eHome did in one of the games against CDEC yesterday.
Yeah.
And one of the really nice things that I always think when I see the AA is getting a carry or safe lane farmer that can rotate into the jungle, so you can give that safe lane to the AA, similar to how you want to do so with a Visage. So eHome did it with a Lycan. We see some teams doing it with heroes like Jug. Just giving a lane to the AA to just get that faster level 6 and get up an Ag Scepter or whatever it may be can often go a long way.
Took a while before to see the Rubik picked up, at least not in the first phase. I'm quite happy with that. I still really like the hero, and especially against an Earthshaker, it's really strong, getting that Fissure. But I'm happy is not first pick, because I think they can work around it more now.
Yeah, you've already got a couple of heroes that have worthwhile spells to steal, and I feel like EP this draft more than anything are just focusing on aggressive. A lot of his heroes have been banned out: the Gyrocopter, the Drow, the Phantom Lancer, and that just seems like the approach that we're taking. So I'm very interested to see what CDEC end up grabbing for him.
Well, so far they are doing the exact same draft that eHome did in that last game. They had Storm Spirit, AA, Rubik, Clockwork, and Lycan was their 5th pick kind of pocket strat.
It was
there.
this order. They 4th picked Storm and then 5th picked Lycan.
Yeah, it's exactly mirrored so far, and we'll see if they continue on that path or do something a little bit different.
Now, this game was obviously before the game of Energy Pacemaker. Do you expect Energy Pacemaker to have watched that game, or would they have been preparing for their own series?
Everyone's at LAN, I think.
They probably saw the draft.
Everyone's keeping an eye on things.
Yeah.
And it just because like eHome won that game doesn't mean it's like an unbeatable draft. I think
maybe CDEC thinks it is.
It was well. It seemed particularly strong in that game. CDEC just had this weird team that didn't have a lot of team fight cohesion with the Juggernaut, the Spirit Breaker, and the Shadow Fiend, and they fell behind so quickly that it fell apart before the game could even really develop.
They had no answer to the Storm in the early to mid game, and then no answer to the Lycan later on.
Yeah,
so.
they were lacking the lockdown. So yeah, CTY went crazy that game.
Viper here, so that's probably Shiki's here from mid. I think I was about to say of those two heroes, Lycan is a potential pick, but it's going to be EP who take the Lycan.
Okay, so support Earthshaker.
I wonder if this is a block pick here from EP. I guess they could have banned it out.
Yeah,
so yeah, not so realistic, but
it's definitely not. You can't. You don't block your opponent's 5th hero when you have a ban left.
That was a silly statement, but we haven't really seen EP play much Lycan, have we? I feel like this is also a change for them, trying to do something a little bit different here on the verge of elimination.
First game I've seen them pick it up.
Yeah,
so maybe something they did earlier in the qualifiers before I got here, but.
Now, one hero that we used to see a lot against Lycan that Aggressive also has played earlier in this qualifier is an Axe. I'm not sure how it will fit. Obviously, they kind of lack a bit of damage there. But would that be an option in this case?
It is some okay lockdown against Lycan.
It kind of overlaps too much with the Clockwork and how they fit in as the initiator. And if they had an offlaner who could farm a bit more and provide that damage output, it would maybe work. But I think Viper, at that point, Viper's your really only DPS/carry. And you have got 0 burst damage. So that to me is a big worry.
Do you think you give any thought to something like an anti-mage here if you're CDEC? It doesn't seem to fit Aggressive, but it's so good against Darkseer, notably. I'm not sure. Probably not. It just doesn't seem like a good fit for the lineup.
Standard Jug is more likely what I'd expect from CDEC. They're just not a team who's going to experiment as much, and I don't know if Jug's the best pick here, but it's just like the kind of pick CDEC would normally go for.
Yeah.
Ember Spirit gets spanned out.
What else has Aggressive been playing recently? A lot of
played a Lifestealer as well. Drow.
Yeah. That's true. That's a really good point. CDEC is one of few teams that still runs the Lifestealer somewhat regularly, and they've actually run it in this qualifier.
No, not against Lycan, Queen of Pain, and Darkseer Surge. Just not a...
Yeah.
Oh, it's the Faceless Void.
Ah, that's a interesting pick.
I haven't seen that
good.
in a while.
So the all Void Ancient Apparition combo. Okay.
I think they were a little bit light on lockdown as well. So getting the combination of both having a really solid carry hero
Void's
and getting the
here,
counter. Yeah, this is a really
good
Void
against
pick.
Lycan, great against Darkseer, pretty good against Queen of Pain as well. They will take a Disruptor as their final choice for their second support.
I really like that. That's a good hero against Void as well.
It does make their ganking power in the early game a little bit weak. Disruptor plus Earthshaker, it's lots of lockdown, but it's not really heroes that they move that are going to move around and gank a whole lot. And I worry that that's going to let CDEC get away with
EP's lanes are just do nothing. Like they're just sit in your lane and farm. Queen of Pain mid is not even going to be looking to rotate or roam. Like you're going to gank a Darkseer lane, not going to work. You can't really gank the Lycan's lane either. So EP's lanes look like they're just going to have their setup. They're going to farm. They're going to fight in the mid game.
Yeah.
So is that when EP has to make it happen? You think 15 minutes plus is when we'll start seeing the split pushing and team fights break out? I'm having trouble gauging when Energy Pacemaker really hits that power curve when they want to strike while the iron's hot.
It depends how the laning stage goes. Like their laning stages can be super passive, and if they have a decent laning stage where they just trade farm, then they can look to take towers, take objectives in the mid game around the time they get like maybe a Darkseer mech. But if the laning stage goes poorly, they're going to be playing catch up throughout the mid game and just building towards the late game. It feels like.
Well, with this draft, I am actually still with my prediction as CDEC is just looking really strong. I think that the lanes are going to be fairly stale for the first part because I don't think either team will really want to try and push something unless, obviously it's get baited out by the other team. But I think CDEC is going to do pretty well this game.
I think some of it will depend on how well XZ is able to level in the offlane. If he can find that timely level 6, then things may heat up sooner rather than later.
I want to see how things go with his double mango strat so far. That's what XC's got picked up at the moment.
That's peculiar, actually.
Whoa.
Double mango clockwork.
You can force feed them to your allies.
True. True.
I don't
Eat
know
a tango.
what.
You look hungry, son.
Eat a mango.
I keep doing that. Eat a mango. Old habits die hard.
That is a first for me.
Yeah.
I remember just seeing an RT tweet, like, pretty sure like 99% mango purchases have been useless. And I kind of thought about it, I'm like, yeah, I've never really seen a mango purchase and thought, man, that mango purchase was actually did anything.
Sometimes on a bristleback or a timber saw is like, yeah, you can just, it's good to have it because you might just need that extra
Undying
burst of
is the one
damage.
hero that I feel like I've seen one or two. He just gets that last little bit of mana to get off the decay or the soul rip to find the kill. But that's kind of the only time I've thought to myself, the mango, wow!
Gotta get him with the mango.
It's on the clockwork.
Is this do it? Yeah, he's doing it. Oh, so it's a Lycan mid here. All
Yeah.
right, interesting lane setup from EP. That'll leave the safe lane Queen of Pain again.
I like it better this way. Just the clockwork in the off lane is going to be able to bully the Lycan too much, contest the farm. It allows the Earthshaker to roam. Because if you have a Disruptor plus Lycan dual lane, the clockwork is just going to really kind of bully them and get too much out of the lane. So many clockwork games this tournament we've seen Clock get huge amounts. But with that said, Clockwork is not even in the off lane. It's an aggro tri lane. So that was the reasoning behind EP laning the Clockwork, the Queen of Pain safe lane. But as far as the lane they get, Queen of Pain's also not going to have much fun.
This is a pretty scary tri lane. Ancient Apparition, one of the classic heroes known as very potent in this kind of a situation with the Chilling Touch. Rubik as well with the Fade Bolt. And the Telekinesis Disable. Even Void, not that bad in this kind of a scenario. Has an initiation tool with the Time Walk, can disengage, and those Lucky Bashes can always come out and sometimes set up a kill. So I like this play to ensure that the Clockwork, at the very least, gets some solid levels here, and he'll also find some farm along the way.
Yeah. So we'll see. I'm not sure what EP do to respond. They brought the Earthshaker already down bottom lane. His Fissure is going to be needed to save Queen of Pain, although it looks Queen of Pain could have blinked out regardless, and they're going to turn this one around. The AA's stuck. They're not going for the kill. They need to save the Disruptor. Time Walk forward. Aggressive commits with the first blood. He looks like he may pay for this with his life. The tower shot's not enough, and Queen of Pain. Just level 1 blink, unfortunately, could not commit to the AA kill.
Yeah, very nice for CDEC. A great start. Aggressive will use a salve. It does get knocked off, but
gets most of the regen.
For them. So. Yeah, really not too bad. And with the first blood like that, what are you thinking item-wise here for aggressive? Is this a Midas kind of a game, do you think, or just go straight into the...
Maybe like a late Midas, but for an aggro tri-lane, you want items that you can fight with. You want fast treads, you want to get your boots as possible, maybe like an Orb of Venom, but I think just the treads rush and a magic stick as well. If you're in a tri-lane versus tri-lane, you want a magic stick. So
yeah, definitely.
I could see him getting like a 12 to 15 minute Midas if he felt like they're going to play towards the late game. And there we go. He gets boots and a magic stick, probably upgrades the treads, may go treads and then Midas, but he wants to be able to contest and fight this time.
Darkseer in a lot of trouble. He's trying to cut the wave. Viper gets a lucky haste rune at the 2-minute mark, and normally Darkseer could just surge away from a situation like this, but not going to happen. Bad luck for him. And CDEC now 2-1 is...
Yeah. Nice move by Shiki, too, because normally Viper would not even bother going for a rune, but they had vision of the rune. So he sees a haste and says, whoa, that's a free kill for me. Yeah. So
it's really 2-0. The Ancient Apparition, of course, was an intentional suicide there for a free trip back to the well. It threw me off for a second. I was trying to remember when EP picked up a kill, but it was Roche.
So we'll see CDEC keep committing to this aggro trial. Lycan is farming well in the mid lane against Viper, although he's also rotated into the jungle a bit. So kind of mixing things up between laying against Viper and taking some jungle farm.
They will stay committed to the tri-lane for now. One drawback is Faceless Void having a slower timing on that level 6 in the Chronosphere, but well worth it if they can secure him the kind of free farm he's getting here.
And Queen of Pain is still level 2, is getting very little experience-wise.
Exactly. And very little farm-wise as well. She's now 8-2, less than ideal for your safe lane farmer. And we saw last game how much stock they put in, making sure she got that early farm so she could get the Aghanim's about as quickly as possible. In this game, that timing will not be the same.
Yeah, so for EP, we kind of talked about how their lanes are pretty static. They can't really do too much. They're going to have to just commit to this offensive trial. The Oshik is not even really able to roam around unless he wants to just sack the bottom lane. So, and even if he does rotate, he's not going to get a kill on the Viper with Lycan there. Unless Viper overcommits and Lycan hits level 6. Top lane, unlikely to find a kill on the Clockwork. You can just use the Cogs pushback.
Well, he's low on mana. Maybe it's time to eat one of those mangoes.
Oh, man. Is he going to... What's he going to do? Maybe get a bottle here.
Well, the double mango against Darkseer gives you that extra bout of passive regen that actually makes things a bit easier against the Ion Shell. We didn't mention that, but there is more to the mango than just the mana, Parker. It's a complex fruit.
Oh, XZs. Falls back to base. Imagine if he had like a bottle instead of those mangoes.
That's
Man.
that's a good point. I can't argue with that one.
Go get runes. You know, your Viper doesn't need runes, so the top rune is open for the taking. But they're going to switch up their lanes. It looks like they're going to rotate the Void top, say, we've won the laning stage. Let's now get our farm on.
And this is where, when I mentioned the Midas earlier, I was thinking they could do a rotation like this. And he will at least go for the treads first, but we'll see where his item build goes from there. Looks like they'll put some stock into zoning out the Darkseer, and the byproduct of this will be that the Queen of Pain can now catch up. She's even on CS with the Faceless Void, and will probably continue to be, as she's now left completely alone.
So we'll see where Clockwork heads. He's not level 6, so he can't really just start roaming around. He needs to get some more... That's the rough thing. Clockwork ideally would want to hit level 6 before he went back to base. I guess he didn't feel safe, but once he's level 6, he can roam around and not have to go straight towards that off lane.
He has gone for a slightly different build here, though. We've seen the Battery Salt primary more often than not, and here he's been maxing the Rocket Flare to ensure some extra farm and have that extra global harass.
All right, well, for now, looking for that level 6. Aggressive at top, not a fun lane against the Darkseer. The double Iron Shell enough there, and they're going to go for a kill on mid. Lycans pop the ultimate. Viper slowing things down a little bit with that corrosive skin. And a great cogs from XZ has knocked me enough to save his teammate.
Yeah.
Good kill, good gank. That's an important one as well on the Viper.
Meanwhile, in the top lane, Darkseer cutting the wave. Salve used by Aggressive. They'll have the Chilling Touch, or do a good bit of damage here, but the Surge, level 2, just a bit too much. And the Void can't close the gap. Those power treads, not what they used to be, and can't quite get to the Darkseer. So 2-2. EP showing a sign of life here. This Lycan really getting some good farm.
Yeah, Lycan's doing well. Treads, bottle, and looks like just a straight Vlads, I imagine. Not sure. Every now and then you see the Medallion, but Medallion's becoming less and less a pickup for the Lycan himself because he has to make room for other items so fast that he ends up selling it and just helps secure one Roshan.
Although, who else would grab the Medallion here? They don't really have another great Medallion carrier, to be honest.
I guess if he's not getting it, no one is. So if you're trying to take Roshan, you have to do so in a position where you've got a big advantage and you can take it without the Medallion.
Yeah.
We saw last game teams opting not to get Medallion, but that was where you had a clear, obvious purchaser for it.
I think this is a game where he may want to grab it. CDEC have just a really solid team around the Roche pit. Just the nature of the AA and Void together can really punish the Lycan if he gets scouted out in the Roche pit. And you see that Rocket Flare maxed out. I think that's a sign that they want to have that scouting tool so they can keep eyes on the Lycan throw. Of course, you get more damage, but also that lower cooldown.
Not Chicken going to now rotate himself towards the safe lane. They open up the mid lane for Disruptor, which just gives Disruptor some farm, some XP. But Radiant support's both looking very starved for levels. And, well, I guess it's a similar story with the CDEC side as Rubik level 3. But here we go. Disruptor going to, yeah, he's going to be the one taking over the mid lane.
It's some much-needed experience here. Still no point in Kinetic Field. He'll grab it at level 4. Going for that slightly more aggressive build with the early point in Thunder Strike.
Uh-oh, that's a dead-looking Darkseer.
Yep, Surge not going to save you from the cogs. There is a hook shot here. He pump fakes it. We'll just try to cut off the retreat path. And Darkseer, can he make it out here? It's not looking so good. There we go. Hook shot will connect, and
they made that gank a lot harder than it needed to be. He wanted to save the hook shot, it looked like. Just run in with the battery assault cogs, but
yeah, a little bit greedy there. But
shouldn't have let the Darkseer fog him, because that was almost a blind hook shot in the end.
Yeah. Lycan, meanwhile, split pushing in the bottom lane, does at least half damage to the tower, forces out the glyph, and seems like CDEC will react. Q pressuring as much as he can. It is Shiki on the Viper that comes down. Viper strike at the ready, and that'll be enough for the Lycan to back off.
Good pressure, though. He forced a Viper TP rotation and opens up the mid lane for some farm and just pressure to come out of the Queen of Pain Disruptor. And Lycan says, well, I just did a good amount of damage to your T1 tower. I can rotate into the jungle. Actually going to TP top, and what are they looking to do here? Maybe go for a kill. Not an easy one to find or get on aggressive. But I think they're going to try smoke up and find something.
Queen of Pain, 4 XP away from the ultimate. And that is definitely going to be a time when Fan wants to start moving around. Much different playstyle on the Queen of Pain this go around. 0, 2, and 0 still been very quiet, but I think he'll be a lot more active here as he can't just sit back and get all that yummy safe lane farm. But here's the smoke rotation from EP.
Super aggressive, because Lycan, like CDEC just see him rotating the jungle. They're expecting Lycan to be jungling right now. This is a rotation that you just do not expect if you're CDEC. Oh. But they seem somewhat wary of it. The Iron Shell Wolf.
Yeah, we didn't mention that, but it's very irritating. Yes. Not fun. Well, the smoke doesn't do a hell of a lot, though. They make it to the top lane. they haven't been revealed in the rotation. So that's the one thing that they've got going on. Aggressive poking forward, but seems a bit skeptical that trickery could be afoot as there's so many heroes missing off the map.
I think if they're not getting this top tier 1 tower, the Lycan's TP was actually a bad idea and a big waste of time. He could be farming the bottom Radiant jungle and then pressuring the tier 1 bottom tower. And bottom lane is empty. This could be Lycan taking that tier 1 tower after farming the jungle. He could be being a lot more efficient, but he will get the top tier 1. So it does end up being a trade-off where he's not farming as much as he could in his jungle and pressuring bottom lane, but he finds a tower elsewhere.
Yeah, he will indeed go for that Vlad's first item here, it looks like, with that Ring of Regen picked up. How close is the Ancient Apparition to his level 6? I feel like when that happens, CDEC will have a much easier time repelling these pushes, and it looks like this wave will be what he needs to get that Ice Blast.
Okay, so Chronosphere and Ice Blast online. Let's see if they can find kills. It's hard. A lot of mostly the Lycan, very tanky and hard to bring down with just those 2 spells.
It's more that now they have a tool to start repelling pushes without having to commit somebody into the tower. So that little push up top probably still would have happened, but at least CDEC can do something about it rather than just watching their tower fall.
Fans been playing catch up on Queen of Pain and has to be very cautious now of that initiation duo.
Yeah, it's level 7. Earthshaker still only 4. Poorest in the game. Sharing is caring here as him and Darkseer clear out some mud golems. Ooh, smoke from CDEC. XZ leading the charge. Has the hook shot at the ready. Can't quite get the vision that he needs, though. The smoke will get broken. He knows there's somebody nearby. Rocket, thinking someone could be farming at the hard camp. He connects. Oh, my. Power cogs come out. And, yeah, I think this Earthshaker going to be in a world of hurt. That should be enough for a shatter.
Yeah, just barely.
Yep. Meanwhile, on the other side of it, they will almost bring down the Queen of Pain. She'll blink back. Darkseer is nearby. Just a 1-for-0 so far. Quick pick on the support. So not a very high-value target.
And chase, and they want to fight this, but Lycan was really far away when he popped that ult. He actually invised up as well.
This is interesting. Moving behind the tower. I don't know how much he'll get out of it, though. Meanwhile, Aggressive just split pushing in the top lane. Picks up the Mask of Madness now. Great early combative build for the Void. And you were talking about it's hard to find kills with just Chronosphere and the Ancient Apparition ulti, but with the Mask of Madness in there, it becomes a possibility.
Now Lycan going to make his way into Roshan with an Invis Rune. The Rocket Flare was used bottom, so not going to be scouting out Roshan anytime soon. And Clockwork is in the neighborhood, but doesn't look like he's going to be able to prevent this. Unless the next Rocket Flare goes straight into the Roche Pit, but I think he's going to just be using it in lane. This is not a movement. Yeah, he's not expecting Roshan to be happening right now.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a risk from Old Chicken. 12 minutes is the timing window when you want to start being suspicious of the Lycan, but
it's hard to read.
To contest,
you know he could very well just be in the jungle farming Ancient.
And they don't have any wards in the enemy jungle either, so that huge area of the map is completely dark for the Dire side.
He did just fire 3 Rocket Flares in a row bottom lane, which could have scattered out Roche.
Well, they'll get a kill on the Darkseer mid. Easy pick off there. It will be Garda that gets credit for that one as Old Chicken picks up the Aegis of the Immortal. XZ. Well, Rocket Flare comes out a little bit late there. Aggressive walks in, and the kinetic field not quite enough. Gets glimpsed back on the other side of it now. Hook shot onto Old Chicken. Power cogs will push him to the low ground perhaps. No, he's going to hang on to them for now. Now the cogs come out. Nowhere for the Old Chicken to go, but Clockwork will still fall. Aggressive force the time walk to the low ground, and the trade will be Darkseer for Clockwork across this extended skirmish.
Unfortunately, couldn't quite get the Void in the kinetic field and tried to glimpse him back in, but by then missed it into the kinetic field and got out of the Static Storm. But very close to killing off the Void as well. Yeah,
that could have been a lot worse for CDEC. And
EP holding their own. This Lycan's getting a lot of steam right now.
13-minute mech out on the Viper.
This is going to give CDEC some good team fight. They're going to throw the Ice Blast, kind of as you mentioned, is a good anti-pushing tool, and Old Chicken, while he has an Aegis, is probably going to want to back off fairly soon and at least wait for some heals.
It at least makes the Lycan think twice while he has the debuff on, to be susceptible of burst and just have a Shatter come out. Shiki doing a lot of damage to him here.
I don't think... Yeah, Old Chicken just got this Aegis. He doesn't want to throw it away for nothing. Even if he gets that tier 1 tower, it's unlikely to be worthwhile for just the Aegis. So he'll farm up the Ancients, and elsewhere, Aggressive still getting his farm onto the Void. Has you mentioned the Mask of Madness. It looks like he's going to go into a BKB after this.
Okay.
Wants a solution to the Disruptor especially, but there's a lot of just control, like where if he time walks in with a Chronosphere and doesn't catch a Disruptor, you're getting glimpsed out. Earthshaker can fissure you. There's a lot of annoying spells this game.
And here we go. Speak of the devil. Whoa! Time walk. That'll be a whiffed Sonic Wave. Wouldn't have been enough for the kill. They'll need a few more art attacks off after that, but without an Aghanim's upgrade, that's a long cooldown on that big ulti, and CDEC can feel a little more safe for the next 2 minutes at least. But But yeah, you made a great point about the Fissure Earthshaker, one of the classic kind of pseudo counter picks against the Faceless Void, because he has so much reach on that Fissure. Often outside of the Chrono can still make Void's life very difficult.
Yeah, I'm going to pick up Arcane Boots here, so not going to see a timely Blink Dagger this game. But possibly just valuing having some extra mana for his team.
Bottom lane, Disruptor, hook shot, point blank connects, power cogs come out, and that's an easy kill on the Disruptor. He uses the Static Storm Kinetic Field, sort of tries to set it up for the Earthshaker, does good damage, but not quite enough. Totem stolen here by Q, less than ideal, but Ice Blast, it will clip him. That'll be enough to force a Shatter. Awkward rotations here from EP Parker. It does make a little bit of space for Old Chicken to pressure the Tier 1 tower mid, but it comes at a big cost.
Yeah, especially Earthshaker just running into 3 heroes on his own.
He didn't even have an Echo Slam either. It looked like he was setting up for an Echo Fissure, but that wasn't even an option.
Yeah. I do like that he had precasted Totem, so Rubik couldn't still Fissure, but
yeah,
he just runs it in feet, so he kind of makes up for that nice little play. He just used Totem earlier at top. But
yeah, there's an odd combination of smart plays and lackluster plays here. Lycan gets the last hit on the tower, will channel the ulti form, goes in onto Q. Mech used by Shiki. Telekinesis not going to be there. Rubik will fall, and now Shiki in a bit of trouble. Old Chicken has to go a bit deep for it, and he will back out. Now the Void's here. Chronosphere comes out. Old Chicken gets caught. It's on 2. That'll be the end of the Aegis of the Immortal. The Darkseer falls as collateral damage also. Now the Disruptor on his way in, but he doesn't have the Static Storm. Still on cooldown from before. Old Chicken comes back to life.
Nice
gets Viper
Fissure.
struck. Aggressive just barely lives. The Old Chicken. Will he fall? Yes, he will. Aggressive gets glimpsed back, so a 1-for-1 trade on that one. Echo Slam. It just tickles. Earthshaker will go down, and now Clockwork chasing down the Disruptor, but it's the Queen of Pain. She wants the party, too. Maybe they can turn it around on the Clockwork. Cold Feet on the Quap. She will be able to make
Body
it out.
blocks.
Oh my, the Wolves.
Wolves.
XZ will end up going down. A chaotic fight here in the mid. Garter will fall as well, it looks like. No follow-up damage to force shatters on these 2 heroes. And in the end, feels like kind of a break-even trade. I'm not sure who really won that one.
Both carries end up dying. The Viper survives. The Queen of Pain survives. Felt like a pretty even-ish exchange. 3 for 4 in favor of EP.
Okay, so they get a minor edge.
Yes. They do lose Lycan, who was one of their top farmed heroes, which is where it wasn't as big a gold gain as they would have liked.
Yeah. And they also lost the Aegis. That's the other thing to remember there.
Yeah.
EP did have a better exchange in the end, but they burned through the Aegis.
The Aegis was about to expire, but you have that Aegis and you're thinking, okay, I'll die and then be able to escape, but couldn't manage to do so. Nice time for the Disruptor shop. He was the one who kind of came in, brought back the Void, allowed them to kill off the Faceless Void.
I also think that fight would have been a lot different if the Disruptor didn't waste his ultimate in that little skirmish in the Radiant jungle right before that. He didn't have a Static Storm available, and that extra little bit of damage and silence could have been enough to tip the scales and make that a very victorious fight for the Radiant.
The Sonic Wave was maybe even on cooldown at the start of the fight as well from top. So,
yep,
a couple key ultis missing from EP, and they still win the fight. That's the good news for them. That's what the Aegis kind of allows them to do, and probably feeling confident they can maybe 5-man some more, but going to be a little bit careful against the Chrono Ice Blast. Chrono coming up fairly soon.
Looks like Clockwork going for a Blade Mail here. Good item against the Disruptor once you put that Static Storm down. No way to stop the damage from coming out. Same with the Ion Shell. A lot of abilities like that in this game. Also just gives him some nice survivability. Aggressive, in a little bit of trouble here, but will make it out of the Static Storm Kinetic Field. No, the Glimpse gets him back in just on the side of it. Darkseer will even commit a wall and a Sonic Wave used to make sure that Void does not escape. That's 3 ultimates for the Faceless Void.
Yeah. It's kind of awkward way for them to be ganking it. Shiki going to go back for a Midas. The Disruptor's actually missed that Static Storm Connect Field a few times. I think he should just be using the Thunderstrike into a Glimpse, because if Void time walks out, you have vision and you just glimpse him back in.
Yeah.
I don't know why he's trying to be so fancy and start with the Static Storm Kinetic Field, which he's now missed like 2-3 times in a row.
And it really does feel like a key ultimate for their team fighting.
Well, the thing is, if you don't even need the ulti to kill the Void there, I don't think. You Thunderstrike him, he time walks out, you glimpse him back in, and okay, he's got no time walk. Yeah. He's completely trapped. You can Kinetic Field.
I guess at that point, what he could do is just pop the Chrono and then walk away that way.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So you do sort of need the Static Storm, perhaps. But you could also make the case just forcing out a Chronosphere is a victory in and of itself. XZ jumps in onto the Darkseer, but whoa! How did he get on the other side of the cogs?
Yeah,
he does have a Force Staff. Okay. And there you go. Glimpse on Aggressive. That'll buy him some time, but he gets a bash that locks down the Darkseer, gives him the extra lick of damage he needs. They may continue to pursue for the Disruptor. They know the Glimpse is on cooldown. Time Walk across the cliff. First hit bash. Disruptor, you're in some trouble. He turns, and that's enough for the Ice Blast to connect. Kinetic Field will buy him that little bit of space he needs. Rocket Flare, I don't think it's enough to force the Shatter. But Void has
Glimpse.
another time walk.
Oh,
A close call, but a 2-for-0 across this exchange. Now the old chicken, he wants a piece of the action here. Time walk up in about 5 seconds. I think Aggressive is okay here. Viper on his way in. Power Cogs come out to try to push old chicken away. Cold Feet as well. Mech used. The old chicken may die to DOTs. He's on the run. Aggressive just barely lives, as will the Lycan. So it will indeed be just that 2-for-0 exchange as it started, with CDEC finding the advantage.
Okay. EP just need to be... they seem to just be panicking in some of these situations where like they just don't need... Like the Disruptor running in there to help the Darkseer. I do really like the item progression from EP. They've gone rush to full staff on both Darkseer and Disruptor. Great against all of these CDEC heroes.
Yeah.
Be it getting away from the Viper DOTs, getting out of a Clockwork Cogs, getting away from a Faceless Void who's right-clicking you. Even if you can't full stuff out of a Chrono, it's still a very good positioning tool. So definitely a value item to have. 2 full stuffs already before 20 minutes was, I mean, that's going to... Those are items which also transition great into the late game.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Opportunity cost for the Darkseer is he could have a mech now, so they are lacking on that, but Force Staff did make a big difference in that last fight. I hadn't even realized he had completed it, so now picks up an Ogre Club, so maybe just a BKB on the way for the Darkseer.
Seems to be the case.
It's an interesting item trajectory. Second item BKB is actually not so common on little ish.
Yeah,
Could it be something different, like a halberd or something? I feel like, I mean, what does the BKB really offer the Darkseer here? Doesn't save you from Chrono, doesn't save you from Viper Strike, doesn't save you from Cogs.
It blocks some of the damage at least, so
yeah.
I guess he's just worried about dying to these things, like the damage over time, and I mean, the Void. A lot of the Void damage is actually magic damage from his bashes and all that. But it's mostly just worried about some of the lockdown, the initiation, the Ruby, like Telekinesis, Ice Blast, Clockwork, just his nuke damage coming out.
Yeah. Well, all this while we've seen this skirmishing around the map. Queen of Pain has been a bit quiet, and she did manage to pick up that Aghanim Scepter. Had it a few minutes ago, so now she can have Sonic Waves aplenty. Seems to be just the style that EP really likes. This game, I don't think, is an obvious Aghanim's game, though it is still decent. He seems to just really like this. Get the Aghanims as soon as possible, and then start to get as aggressive as possible. And you see EP now starting to 5-man kind of off the back of that.
I think with a good start, may have considered an Orchid just to lock down the Void, but Void's already going to have a BKB too quickly.
Yeah, and there it is. Speak of the devil. So, sieging at the Tier 2 up top begins. Smoke from CDEC. They certainly want to contest this one. Just looking for the right angle to initiate. Aggressive pops the Mask of Madness preemptively. In comes the Chrono. Static Storm Kinetic Field is there, but BKB gets used. Old Chicken goes down straight away. Now they'll try to go for the Darkseer. Hookshot off to the side. They'll turn, and so far, just a 1-for-0.
It's the Lycan, though, and without the Lycan, they can't really fight. Void could have just time walked into 3 heroes. Not afraid of too much here. Darkseer looks for the vacuum wall. Doesn't really catch up much. Great Fissure Sonic Wave. Blows up the CDEC
but
backline.
Stolen by Rubik. It goes right back the other way. Now EP in a huge amount of trouble. A lot of low health heroes. CDEC just trying to clean house, and it's the Faceless Void low on health. He won't be able to pursue down the Darkseer. Him and the Queen of Pain will live, but oh my, the Grand Magus making a great turnaround play there with the quick steal on the Sonic Wave.
That was nice. Earthshaker had such a good finish of that fight, but still, yeah, the Rubik really the big playmaker in the end there. And EP just unable to save the Lycan in the Chronosphere. They can't really do too much because of the BKB pickup. With a BKB Chrono and an Ice Blast, it's a guaranteed kill on Lycan, and from there, it's really hard to take any subsequent fight.
And that's part of the reason why I think prioritizing a mech on someone like the Darkseer, if no one else, is valuable there. Because if he's not caught outside of the Chrono, you can try to buy the Lycan some time. I don't think it would have made a difference there, but in certain situations, it can be the maker to break it.
Have to get in before the Ice Blast, but you the Chrono normally sets up the Ice Blast, so Chrono happens, you just mech as early as possible. So
yeah, that's true.
It's doable, but it's not something super reliable. I think the Lycan needs to maybe tank up a bit more. He's going to probably go for a BKB next, which gives him a bit of HP. And once he finishes it, okay, it's Necro 3 on the Courier.
And Midas on Ancient Apparition, 24 minutes in. Not the ideal timing, but still within acceptable parameters here. And we'll begin the quest for that Aghanim Scepter. So what does Void look for after the BKB? Obviously transitions into damage, but maybe we'll hold that thought as Void picks up the Invisibility Rune. Okay, nothing's going to break out.
I think damage. Maelstrom's always nice because it gives you outpush as well. Seen some Voids, like TC used to go for like even a Battle Fury still is a possibility, but
The Maelstrom is a great way to give you some extra anti-push, just to try to clear out some of the wolves, the necro units, and just do some AoE damage that way.
And then upgrade into Mjolnir, which gives you more attack speed, so I think it's kind of the most natural progression from here for the Void.
It would also be nice to have the static charge buff for someone like the Clockwork, who's been hook-shotting in very aggressively, and he already has the Blade Mail, but just some extra kind of return damage for when he will inevitably take some of those right clicks.
And poor Clockwork struggling to get too much done to fight. Like, he got a nice hook shot off on the supports that fight, but Disruptor just force stuffs out, and Clockwork ended up being kind of a non-factor that last fight, which is...
Yeah. Oh, Force Staff in, or pardon me, Time Walk in right onto the Earthshaker. He'll die to the wrath of the Ancient Apparition from an Ice Blast coming from downtown.
Has to be a bit careful about going for kills like that, because that's his second BKB usage already, and it's not really a kill which helps you transition into an objective. Maybe you go for a Roshan with Earthshaker dead. That's a risky play.
Has he respond? Well, I think it was certainly here. Yeah, 25 minutes in.
But I don't see that being what... CDEC aren't really going to look for Roshan, so it seems like a bad usage of your a BKB charge just to kill off the Earthshaker there.
I would agree.
I guess you're slowing down his Blink Dagger, but...
Well, speaking of BKBs, now Viper has his completed. So that Hand of Midas starting to pay some dividends here. It'll help tank him up. Seems like this Disruptor has been a really valuable pick for EP, and even though he hasn't played it quite perfectly with a few missed static storms, as we pointed out, just the nature of the glimpse and the kinetic field has really been making things a lot more difficult for CDEC in these team fights.
Oh, yeah.
Adding that layer of chaos that EP really seems to thrive on.
It'll be interesting if the Disruptor can keep it up. Maybe they even start allocating some farm towards an Ag Scepter so they can try and catch the Void before the BKB and the Static Storm, but
Yeah.
not something necessarily easy or reliable. I think the Darkseid really needs a Blink as well. He's gone for the 4-star BKB type build, but I feel like the Blink Dagger initiation is going to be key here if you want to try and be the ones getting the jump on CDEC.
Yeah.
Especially with Earthshaker not having a Blink of his own.
CDEC, though, feeling a lot more comfortable at this stage of the game, getting aggressive with yet another smoke rotation. Moving through the Radiant jungle, they won't find anyone, and their smoke will expire right under a Radiant ward, so I don't think they'll find too much out of this.
Looks like they're just going to kind of bully away EP from maybe even this tier 2 tower, but EP in a good position to counter push top lane. Haven't got Lycan up there, but it's still at least enough pressure that someone's going to have to TP back, and that's going to be the Viper, so CDEC push not going to happen, and I think for now EP are going to try and use split push, try and create enough space for Lycan to try and sneak into Roshan or something. He picks up Boots of Travel. I think Lycan picks up Boots of Travel. Whoa, Viper actually BKB'd.
That is just a misclick, I think.
For the Boots of Travel? Oh, the BKB?
No, the BKB. Yeah, that's...
I think he dodged the glimpse with it.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I was worried that he was getting glimpsed back and getting killed off.
Oh, you're right, actually. Okay,
but,
never mind. That was the 10-second charge, too.
Yes.
So. But the BOTs on Lycan. All right.
Two things from this for me. It's one, you can split push a lot more effectively, and also try sneak Roshan. You send wolves into the Rosh pit, you can Boots of Travel in, summon your Necrobooks, and bring down Roshan.
Oh, that's a really good point, actually.
Without having to like make your way past wards and just try and find an opening to do so, because you can just instantly teleport there.
Yeah, that's actually a great point. I think split pushing will be the name of the game for EP. It seems like once they get into these 5-man skirmishes, it's just too easy for CDEC to defend with the Chronosphere and Ice Blast. But if they can do a 4+1 type strategy here, BOTs can be quite potent. Ooh, going for the Queen of Pain. Aggressive. Has a Chronosphere. He will deploy it. Ice Blast as well. And a couple of ultis used, but it will yield a kill on one of the cores.
Yeah, hard for Fan to get away from that. Unless he has that extra blink. 4-star of his own, but he's not going to do that.
Well, Void will now pick up Gloves of Haste. Looks like Maelstrom will be his next stop-off. Fairly standard. Nothing too surprising about that.
Yeah. So the split push going to now make its way towards bottom lane. So wherever CDEC go, EP will look to head towards the other side of the map and just start pushing things out. If CDEC rotate bottom to defend, then we'll see Old Chicken probably just TPing top. He's near the Roshan pit, but I think he's just trying to grab a rune here. And I'd be surprised if he made his way into Rosh, but maybe he tries to risk it again.
He may just back out, eat the Invis in an area that he thinks is fogged, and then rotate in towards the Rosh pit. That could be an option.
He's being pinged out. Was there a dire sentry ward there with the Observer? Yeah, they saw him with the sentry ward, so they know he just. Oh no, he didn't even.
He just walked in. Clockwork scouts it out straight away with the rocket flare.
He's still committing to it. They want to fight around the Darkseer vacuum wall, I guess.
They know the Chronosphere is on cooldown. That's the key thing here. He used it to kill the Queen of Pain, but how long until it comes up? 40 seconds? That's still a little while. Aggressive needs to be very careful here. He'll go right into the pit. Wants to duke it out with Old Chicken. Pops the BKB, but it's a little bit premature. Garter looks like he'll be the first to go down. Shiki taking a lot of damage. Uses his BKB. Sonic Wave from the Queen of Pain. Cuts right through it. Gets him low, but the Viper's still alive. Static Storm used on Aggressive, but it's not enough damage. He will Time Walk away. They've lost their Earthshaker, and now they're Lycan. Somehow it's turned into a disastrous fight for the Radiant side as Shiki barely lives. Limps away and takes a positive earn charge. A little bit of lag in the middle of that fight, and I'm not sure exactly what happened to the Lycan. It seemed like he was in good shape, but
he just got right-clicked down by Viper for the most part.
Yeah.
Got locked in place by like Clockwork stuns, by telekinesis, and even in ulti form, just got brought down too quickly.
Yeah, Shiki almost died there. If the Sonic Wave could have just been followed up by a few more auto attacks, that could have been a completely different fight. But now Roshan goes the way of the Dire. Stolen Fissure from the Rubik. Queen of Pain throws out another ultimate with that short cooldown, but a lot of low-health heroes here on EP. It's CDEC that want to continue to pursue. The Ice Blast will be off the mark. And, well, okay, connects on the Earthshaker, but not the target that they wanted. Oh, mama, it's a whiffed Chronosphere for Aggressive. That's not ideal.
Not ideal. Something they can look to fight around maybe, but it's still 90 seconds. Not like a ridiculously Ravage-like.
That's true. It is level 3, yeah, so could be worse.
Yeah, but
even seemed weird just to deploy it for the Earthshaker there, though. Of all heroes,
I think the CDEC know they're the ones in control. They can just take whatever pickoffs come to them and then use it to take a tower hero there, or just they're just out farming their opponents. They're going to go well into the late game. Void going to be a fantastic way of dealing with both Queen of Pain and Lycan, locking them in place. The AAs with a Midas is going to scale well into the late game, can farm up an Ag Scepter with this. So I think all across the board, CDEC just feel very confident. They've got 2 Midases, in fact. The Viper also having one, so they've got the superior late game, without a doubt.
Yeah. Okay. Ice Blast. Thrown in the mid lane. Disruptor. He's not getting an Ags anytime soon this game, Parker. He went Force Staff. Now it looks like Glimmer Cape will be his second item. I guess it could possibly be a pipe, but either way, it's not negatives, so not going to be able to rely on that.
Yeah, and the only thing EP kind of getting done is getting the BKB duration shorter and shorter, but it's still going to be enough that you can a 5-second BKB is still like an answer to a Disruptor, Static Storm, or a Glimpse. So you don't need a long duration to block a Glimpse or to get out of a Static Storm. But something that EP is just going to have to rely around fighting around. Something like the Darkseer needs to make sure he hits the vacuum wall on these heroes.
Yeah. Can we have a look at the net worth graph? Oh, you're a step ahead of me there, Wepis. 3,500 net worth lead here for CDEC, about 5,000 experience. They are starting to pull ahead by a good margin. That Hand of Midas on the Viper really starting to pay off. An Old Chicken, this is just an easy kill. A freebie for Aggressive. He uses the BKB. Not too afraid to get it down to that 5-second charge, and I suppose worth it to get a pick on that prime target of the Lycanthrope.
Oh, yeah. So Time Walk TP out and won't be cancelled. Shaker showing up a bit too late.
Sort of a close call, but he will live.
And this is where it's EP can't even push while the Chrono's down because Lycan's dead. So that's where it is a reasonable target to go for that Chronosphere on, because by the time Lycan's back and pushing on a lane, your Chronos can be more or less back up. And Void's getting scary and scary. He's got the Maelstrom. We'll be looking towards that Mjolnir, I imagine. And
yeah.
Elsewhere, Viper picks up an SMY. So just going for just kind of stat items, just survivability on the Viper, which is kind of more his job.
Yeah, we'll see CDEC get aggressive around this Aegis, as now they'll go for some objective gaming. Tier 2 tower in the top lane will be ripe for the taking, and EP may just let it go down. They're slowly rotating to this part of the map, but seems somewhat satisfied to just continue farming for now, given that their Lycan is still in the grave. Only about a minute and a half left on the Aegis of the Immortal. So I think this is the only objective CDEC will be able to claim with the comfort of the Aegis of the Immortal.
They may continue on with the comfort of a Chronosphere, which is coming up soon for Void. Okay, to 18 seconds.
It's just about there. Maybe they'll just rotate mid and put some pressure on this tower. Now the Blink Dagger comes out on Darkseer. Better late than never. 34 minutes in. I think pretty far behind the standard, but it will make a big difference.
A must-buy item. You can't just expect to be able to walk in and get off a good vacuum wall most of the time. And vacuum doesn't work on the BKB hero, so you want to be able to have the surprise factor of the Blink Dagger.
Yeah, most definitely. Viper went back for the Sanj and Yasha, now with 2,600 gold. What does he look towards next? I mean, does like Heart of Tarask you think makes sense? To really go like full beef mode, or do you think they need the Viper?
Viper?
You think he just needs more damage at this point?
Maybe even Acceptor? I think he definitely goes survivability. I'm just not sure if Heart to me is one of those survivability items which is just
too
outclassed.
survivability.
Well, it's outclassed by other items. Like we see all the carries start going Skadi instead of Heart. I think maybe an Acceptor is more cost effective.
Yeah, the Acceptor is a good call, actually.
Against the
Gives you
Lycan.
the best of both worlds. Gives you that short cooldown, extra damage, but also a lot of really juicy stats.
Just kind of spam it out on the Lycan, who's going to be working towards an AC this game.
Yeah. Mjolnir comes out on aggressive, and CDEC is kind of split pushing around right now, staying very aggressive in enemy territory. Void will rotate through the jungle and rendezvous with his team. He'll split the Viper in the front lines. I think he still has the Aegis in tow, though it's very close to expiration, so happy to tank the tower and then feel the benefits of that regen rune that'll be coming in about 5 seconds here.
Viper just goes from tower to tower, no problems.
Yeah,
The other item he could get is the AC, but I think AC, Heart, or Ags, all decent choices, all suit what Viper needs.
AC is a good point as well. They've got they have a good mix of physical and magical damage, but will help their sieging prowess that much more. Lycan feels very underfarmed to me, though. He was at the king of the tower for a while, but you look at the net worth chart now, and he's really starting to fall behind. His item progression just isn't there. He's got BOT's Necrobook level 3, and just hanging on to that
with that
chainmail.
rocket flare? I think they saw him.
Oh, do they? Oh, yeah, they definitely do. The old chicken gets jumped on, tries to channel the ulti form, but Chronosphere is there, and he will not have a chance to do anything about it. It's a dead Lycan again. He'll be in the grave for 60 seconds. The difference this time is he does have a buyback at his disposal.
Yeah, so unfortunate. The rocket flare saw him, but he did not see the rocket flare, so he didn't even realize he'd been scattered out.
I think he was right on the edge and just thought that it didn't fog him, or he was still in fog over the tree line. So maybe a little bit unlucky there, just slightly misreading the positioning. Unfortunate for the Lycan, though. Every single death of him is adding up. I mean, we're just talking about the disparity on the net worth chart, and now it's that much more.
Lycan's not even the most farmed hero on EP's side. For all of the early game, the first 20 minutes, Lycan was #1 in the net worth by a pretty big margin over his own team, and even maybe like 1 to 2k gold ahead of the Void, but no longer the case at all. It's Viper just storming ahead of everyone. And
4,600 gold. You can just right-click an Aghanims at this point.
at this point, Viper can itemization. It doesn't even really matter so much. It's the fact that you're this far ahead. You could get a Scythe of Vice on Viper. You could get a Shiva's Cut. You could get an AC. You could get, and you could go for damage with like a Manta style or an MKB. But
yeah, absolutely. Queen of Pain, though. Speaking of Hex, she'll pick one up. So
maybe a way of dealing with the Void, but having the counter initiation is just the clockwork.
It's a great way of dealing with Void if EP can be the aggressors and catch the Void before he BKBs, but even with just a 5-second BKB charge, that's pretty much all he needs to get a kill inside of the Chrono and avoid the Static Storm, Glimpse, or the Hex. I don't think it's a bad choice here, but I don't think it's enough to really start reclaiming momentum on its own. And Void wants either Scotty or Aghanims. I'm not sure which.
Probably the latter, so we can go for that like late game Axe Refresher type build. The Axe gives you the extra mana you kind of need to use the Refresher, but...
And Ags, it takes the cooldown to 60 seconds or 70 seconds?
60 seconds.
60, yeah. So that's a big jump now from 100 to 60.
As much as you've already got the shorter cooldown, it does lead into a Refresher, so you can have 2 Chronos in a row, because you can't use a... That was one of the big nerfs to Void, where you need the mana.
Yeah, you used to be able to go all carry items like Mjolnir, Daedalus, those type, and then still get the Refresher and have enough mana for both, and now that's really not possible. So
back when Void was a fun hero.
Hey, look at that. Every so often you get one right, Parker. Heart of Tarask comes out for Viper as his next big item.
All right, he is
a beefcake. 3,300 HP. Wow.
Oh, yeah. This is going to be a hard Viper to bring down. All across CDEC side, they're just getting luxury items up.
This is starting to get out of control. Aghanims on Ancient Apparition is I'm beyond words of how deadly it is in this kind of a game. When you have it on top of a Chronosphere, the damage, the debuff, it's unbelievably potent.
The duration going to be especially annoying for heroes like Earthshaker and Darkseer. If they get hit by it, even if they're like full HP, it means their blinks are just disabled for a very long duration as well.
Here we go. Old Chicken once more stuck inside of the Chronosphere. Ice Blast will fly over.
Didn't BKB.
Yep. Oh, aggressive, a little too greedy with it. The Sonic Wave doesn't do a hell of a lot. He'll BKB afterwards, and this time Old Chicken will live. But it looks like our Shaker will not be so lucky. Burns an Echo Slam on 2 heroes. Doesn't really achieve much there, and of course will end up in the grave after all.
Yeah, so Void just thought Lycan's alone there, which is kind of a silly assumption since Lycan's died to that chrono a few times. He's going to have backup, but the Scythe of Vice reveal, and it saves Lycan, but doesn't get a kill, so not really enough for EP.
Yeah.
They're still just falling further and further behind, even though they did save Lycan that time around.
And that's another good point, that the Scythe hadn't been scouted before that. So now Void will know better next go around. I need to BKB straight away, assume that I may get hexed even inside of my own bubble. Hook shot in up top. They still want this chicken. Can they cook him? Ice Blast flying across, and oh, they've got plenty of damage. They don't even need the Chronosphere to bring him down at this stage.
That was nice. That was a good 4-staff call. It's not an easy thing to do surrounded by that many creeps. Yeah, without Chrono killing off Lycan, he's got no buyback. This is suddenly a very open map. But
Tier 2 tower out of it. The last outer tower remaining for Energy Pacemaker. And 10 to 23 at the 40-minute mark, starting to feel more likely that this series could indeed be a 2-0. What does EP need to do to turn this game around, Parker? This is do-or-die territory.
Defend high ground really well. They can't really contest Roshan. They haven't got the team fight to contest Roshan into the Rocket Flare scouting, the Chronosphere, so it's all going to come down to their high ground defense. Use of the Darkseer on the high ground defense, all their big ultis, Echo Slam, Darkseer Wall Vacuum, Disruptor Static Storm, Sonic Wave. They've got 4 really big team fight ultis, and the only way they're going to get a good latch on with all 4 of those is when they're defending high ground at the choke point of their base ramp. So that's all they can really hope for. And if CDEC execute high ground defense well, it's probably going to be, it may just be too big a mountain to climb right now.
Yeah. And what's the timer looking like on Roshan to be coming up? It may become a focal point of this game. Oh, very soon. A max respawn just about for Roshan. Clockwork scouts it out right as he respawns. Small stroke of luck for CDEC, but you know when it's close to that max timer that he's probably there soon. Another big item for CDEC as well. Aghanim Scepter on the Rattle Trap.
Okay. Boots of Travel picked up by Viper as well, so has that kind of ability to defend the split push at top and then TP join up the push down bottom.
Yeah, I think a great time to pick up that item for him so he can be a little more mobile.
Stolen Shapeshift.
Ooh, Q moving on in, and it looks like the Darkseer will be in some trouble. Chronosphere deployed to bring him down, and they do secure the kill. With Roshan around, having that 5v4 on the field does give them an edge. Hex comes out onto Shiki after he burns the Viper Strike onto Fan. We'll move into the Tier 3 tower. Shiki holding his ground for now, pops the BKB, doing as much damage as possible, just clearing out the Necro units. Old Chicken uses the ultimate. Hook shot is available as it has been upgraded here. Just on range. Clockwork.
Could go for it. Old Chicken doesn't have BKB. They may not have a... That's the thing. Like I think he feels overly safe when Chrono's on cooldown, but the hookshot cogs alone can still lock him in place, step an Ice Blast, and kill him off, as we saw once already.
Yeah. He's going for the Assault Karas, but still pretty far away, and all the while aggressive, putting some damage into Roche. He'll jump to the high ground. The rest of his team will start to rotate down, and CDEC, they want this Roshan, but EP are constantly pressuring this top lane.
Yeah. EP can't contest Roshan, but they can pressure top. But once Chrono's back up, I think they'll probably reconsider pressuring this top lane. Lycan can't really be beating away in the Tier 3 tower when the Void can come in at any time.
It's a ranged wolf. He's throwing energy balls. It's one of those fun Rubik interactions there.
Now with Chilling Touch as well. He's a cutie.
Yeah, it's a good steal for the Rubik. Gives him that movement speed. If anything, just gives him the ability to chase down and be a little bit of a scouting tool for his team. Meanwhile, up top, Shiki on the low ground could get jumped here. The Hex from Queen of Pain to get it started. Thunderstrike to follow up. Echo Slam with a lot of creeps, but this Viper, he's just so damn tanky. He's at half health and still able to BKB. Just walks right through the kinetic field. Ice Blast will fly through it. Gets the kill on the Earthshaker as he tries to TP out. Disruptor as well, and now the Old Chicken. He's left by himself. He does have BOTs, but Viper hops into the tower. Old Chicken, he's going in deep. He wants this Tier 3. Where's he going, Parker? He's just running around in circles.
Yeah.
But Rubik's here. Telekinesis. The Old Chicken's about to get cooked again as the hook shot comes flying through. There's no escape, and he will be put down. A 3-0 as CDEC find themselves closer to victory.
Well, Void coming back. He took Roshan while all that's going on, and I think they'll be pretty ready to go push and end this game, or at least try and end this game fairly soon. Another Lycan death, and
I mean, Aegis, Cheese, they've got everything they need, and again, that net worth chart is just scary. 23K on the Viper, and you look at where that Lycan is, and he's in a sad place.
And I like the pickup from Void, gets Boots of Travel so he can deal with the split push as well. He's thrown as much as possible to make the Lycan's life just a living hell. And down the mid lane, CDEC go. They've got Void pushing out top, but he'll be ready to TP in as needed. And Queen of Pain can throw Sonic Waves, but Queen of Pain may end up actually dying here.
Uses an ultimate for the creep wave, and that's a freebie here for the Faceless Void. Uses the BKB just for good measure and brings her down before the Ice Blast even connects. Now, both her and Lycan do have buybacks available. Lycan respawning rather soon, but Quap, I think, she'll be forced into buying back here if CDEC do press the issue.
Yeah. And just may as well use a BKB there. You don't know if you're going to get glimpsed, fissured. And the big thing is the BKB cooldown will time with the Chronosphere cooldown. So when Chrono comes back up, it's as your BKB comes up. They're both around that 55, 60-second cooldown. So
yeah, that's a great point.
It means Void, when he has his uptime, he's got everything he needs, and then he has a bit of downtime where he can farm and push out lanes, but he can still fight even without the BKB, without the Chronosphere at this point. He's got an Aegis, he's ridiculously farmed.
Yeah.
And right now it's just the Viper solo pushing this mid lane.
And his tier 3 tower is falling pretty quickly here. They've got it well below half health without really too much effort. They didn't have to expend any cooldowns or any of their other consumables like that. And BKB Chrono available for the Void. So here we go. CDEC ready to rock and roll. Quap not forced to buy back, but now she's stuck in this kind of awkward situation of can't defend the tower and certainly doesn't want to buy back. Well, she's in the single digits of time to respawn. So there will be an exposed lane of barracks here in the mid. Glyph comes out. That'll keep the tower alive just a little bit longer. I love the way CDEC are positioned here, though. Just trying to bait with the Viper. Old Chicken up top, jumped on by aggressive. BKB used, and easy shatter onto the Wolf. He will have a buyback, uses it right away. Viper still laying into the barracks mid. BKB, vacuum.
Oh, dear.
That was lackluster from the Darks
They can
here.
get at least a range tracks while the vacuum's on cooldown, I imagine. Void will sit back. He doesn't have BKB Chrono, but Viper in the front lines cannot be dealt with. 15 seconds on vacuum. Kind of have to treat this spell like a semi-ultimate in some ways.
Okay, Echo Slam. It just tickles Shiki. He takes almost no damage. Now the Static Storm, Sonic Wave, and he's still at half health. EP going in deep to defend this barracks, but they're just taking too much damage. Everyone on CDEC still very healthy except the Viper, but he's still alive. He tanked everything. A dieback for a Lycan, and that's it. Energy Pacemaker will GG, and it's CDEC that moves on to the Grand Finals to face eHome once again, and have now secured themselves a ticket to Seattle for the International 5.
Well, we know our two Chinese teams who will be flying out from the qualifiers. We don't know which one's playing and which one's in the wild card, but...
Not yet, at least.
Yes, not yet.
We'll find out soon.
We'll know by the end of today, at least. But CDEC, I'm just a little bit, I think, more polished than EP. I think EP look pretty solid. Like, definitely a team, like, as I watch them play, I can't really, like, they make a few small mistakes here or there. They have some good drafts. They have some good play. But, yeah, CDEC just a level above them.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Very crisp, polished execution for the most part. We talked about the Disruptor a little bit, and there were a few key times that Static Storm was on cooldown, and it would have made a difference in team fights. Don't know if that really would have changed the state of the game. They just had the answer for the Lycan. The Void was that final pick, and it seemed like the perfect hero for that game.
Their lanes just didn't do enough. I think the Earthshaker pick was maybe the questionable pick for them. The Earthshaker didn't really end up helping out too much. Maybe you could throw a Fissure here or there, which offered a bit, but I think overall... it all fell a bit flat. They needed stronger lanes. They needed like a good support partner with the Disruptor where they could gank, they could zone out the lane. It was like an Earthshaker who swung bottom lane to contest the trail, and he's like, well, I can't actually do anything. The aggro trailing from CDEC was the one getting kills, so... Unfortunate for EP, but...
Yeah, the aggro trialing was also a good call. I don't think we really expected that in the draft, but it definitely made some sense. So let's go ahead and take a look at the scoreboard here, and we'll see how things finally unfolded. A good run for Energy Pacemaker, a team that I think we were surprised at DAC when they, remember we were all, who is this team? And they turned some heads there, and taking third in this qualifier definitely speaks to their prowess as a team, even though they're still kind of up and coming, I guess you could say.
Both EP and Wings had continued their kind of good showing from, DAC, it wasn't like they finished in the top 8, top 12 or anything, but it was like, okay, these guys can play Dota. They can kind of compete with some of the top teams, so.
Exactly. And we can welcome back our panel here as well. Basekip and Sheever joining us. Any thoughts about the 2-0 we just witnessed?
I feel like the biggest thing, game 2, we talked about it during the draft, that they were really hammering on aggressive, and they were really trying to focus on all of his heroes. I think 4 out of the 5 bans total were on aggressive heroes, and then he got the Faceless Void, and it turned out to be the perfect pick, and he carried the game anyway. So they lost a lot of value, I think, there in in targeting all of those bans, and the Void just turned out to be the perfect pick.
Yeah, for me, I mean, you have got the Lycan lineup. They wanted to go for the buildings, and they did go for the buildings. They tried to avoid most of the fights, still got baited into fights, and then the fighting lineup from CDEC was just better. And they also didn't build for fights. Obviously, they built for more split push. I would have liked to see a Basher, for example, on the Lycan. Might have not been farmed enough for that, but it was a tough game.
Yeah, I think Old Chicken played the early game really well, but then once we got to the mid game, the lineups did not match up very well at all. And we had a bunch. I think CDEC played around the ultimates way better. I mean, they would play much more aggressively when EP had ultimates on cooldown.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like CDEC ever really got punished that hard for having used a Chronosphere, for example. There was the one fight over by Roshan where I feel that EP tried to exploit the fact that Roshan...
aggressive and trying to counter his Chronospheres. They had all the Force stuff, all the kiting, but Viper, at no point in that game did it look like they had an answer for Viper.
So I want an MVP for Game 2. Thoughts? Anyone?
Aggressive.
Probably.
You
Yeah.
think so?
Well, there was a Chronosphere in the jungle at some point that was kind of
no,
slightly
Is that enough to
misplayed,
disqualify you from an MVP, Shiver? Is one Chrono amongst a sea of good Chronos?
I don't know. It might be, but I mean, he did really well, and not just this game. I mean, if you're looking at CDEC overall in terms of which player has made the biggest impact to where they got right now, I mean, they're going to Seattle, right? That's a big deal. So I think Aggressive definitely played a very big, if not the biggest, role in their team to actually help them get there.
Yeah, I just think you get your top 5 heroes banned out, and you still crush.
Yeah.
MVP.
That's
for
a
me.
good
Yeah, I think Shiki also played flawlessly, but he's playing a hero that is never...
Boring.
Has a Viper ever been an MVP for a game? Like, I don't think you could ever say, like, oh, the Viper was the MVP.
That play from the Viper where he pressed his ultimate or he right-clicked.
I can't really think of a time when that
He
would be
stood
the
in the
case.
front and right-clicked the tower.
Oh my god, are you kidding?
The
Did
item
you see how
decisions were
much
smart,
damage
I
he
think.
absorbed? I mean, the heart of Tarask, it was incredible.
No,
No, I think the item decisions were smart from Shiki. Really, I think going back for the Midas kind of read the game pretty well from that perspective. Even though they ended up giving away a few more buildings, it looks like they realized that, okay, look, if this drags on into the late game, then things are looking good and we can just win it there.
Yeah. So looking forward, eHome versus CDEC. We saw
Again. Yeah.
Yes, again, we saw them already. It's a rematch. It was a very one-sided opening series. CDEC got kind of rolled over. They were pretty quick games. They looked very convincing. Do we think they have a chance in a best-of-5 against eHome coming in on now even footing? Is there a winner game advantage? I don't think
No,
so.
there's not.
There's not. Okay.
I would hope not.
maybe
I would
like
hope not, exactly.
maybe like a coin toss advantage in game 1. I don't know. That's what
I could
some
be into
tournaments
that.
do. But
I like that.
I don't think they have a chance. But I like coming into the playoffs. I just said like, yeah, CDEC went undefeated in their groups, but it's eHome. I didn't see any of these teams being able to compete with eHome once you get to the best of 3s playoffs matches. Not everyone. I mean, I think some people gave CDEC maybe at least closer to 50-50 shot against eHome, but I think personally eHome have just delivered and will continue to do so, especially in a best of 5. At most, I see CDEC taking one game.
I have actually the same thought because eHome during the group stages looked kind of shaky sometimes. I kind of didn't think they lived up to what I thought they were going to be. And then they came to the best of 3 yesterday, and I was thinking based upon the group stages, like, okay, CDEC has a really decent shot. They're going to maybe get a 2-0 out of this, maybe even 2-1. But then they just changed. They just turned into a whole different team, and I think right now it's like CDEC... They looked strong in this game just now, but it was mostly because Energy Pacemaker, like their style of play, just really favors CDEC in this game. And I think eHome is not gonna allow for CDEC to have any space in the early game, and then eHome is gonna take it 3-0.
I think the longer and longer formats favor eHome as well. Like, yeah, maybe you could take one game off of them in the group stage. You can get a 1-1 there, but in a best of 5. I mean, if CDEC do end up winning, I feel like it would have to be 3-2. I don't expect them to just roll over eHome by any means. So I'm probably thinking like 3-1 eHome end of the day.
Yeah, I could certainly agree. So we'll have a break. Not sure exactly how long it will be. The next series will probably start a little bit early since that was a 2-0. So keep your ear to the drum. Probably about 30 minutes, I think, is a good window. That's what we had yesterday. We moved up the series. So somewhere in that time frame, 30 to 40 minutes. Our best of 5 finals, the last series, actually, for the Chinese qualifier here for TI5 will be concluding. So that'll be our first region down. Wow, it feels like we just got here and we're already halfway through.
We actually are halfway through.
I know.
So.
Almost.
We have to wait for America to finish.
True.
We're getting there. So stick around, folks. Go find yourself some food and then come on back because we've got an epic best of 5 right around the corner. Good to see. An early first blood, potentially. Both teams kind of dancing around in the Radiant jungle, but not yet finding the way to initiate. Sand King goes around the backside. Only a stun on one, but aggressive. In some trouble. Leshrac with a stun on 3 as well. It looks like it's CDEC that's on the back foot, but no, Sand King gets low. He's the first to fall. Aggressive gets the kill, then goes down to the sniper, but it's not over yet. Rubik isolated and on the run. He's trying to fog in the trees, but hey there, ho there. Gardner's on the other side. It's a 2-for-1 as CDEC find the advantage. Way to do it. Maybe they can do it now. XZ comes in. Shackle shot connects on the old chicken. And Rubik locked inside of the Sprout. Oh, the sniper's down. No buyback on him or the Rubik. All of a sudden, it is scary for EP. They don't have a glyph. They need to defend as soon as possible. MKB just comes out on the sniper. He won't have a buyback at all. He went all in on the item. Tier 3 tower down, stolen power shot does some good return damage. Nature's Prophet is in the grave. They won't get the second lane of barracks, but they do kill another Tier 3 tower. Visage Birds will get cleaned up on the way out, and maybe they can find some consolation kills. Yule Scepter sets up onto Shiki, and okay, E-Blade blows him up.
Prophet's 5 for 1 lane.
It looks like it'll backfire, though. Hex catches the Nature's Prophet out a bit too far. Epicenter gets channeled. The gem hits the deck, but now Shiki pops the BKB, comes on in, and on the backside, Rubik forced to retreat. He's in a lot of trouble, but will live for now. Sand King now trying to make it back. The old chicken gets stunned up. So many low health heroes on the dire side. And the Sniper, he's stunned, but he's still alive. The Death Lord doing big damage, but it's not enough for the kill on Fan. Sand King does end up going down after all. Glyph used by the dire side, and CDEC will now start sieging the high ground. Somehow the Sniper died on the back. CDEC, they certainly want to contest this one. Just looking for the right angle to initiate. Aggressive pops the Mask of Madness preemptively. In comes the Chrono. Static Storm Kinetic Field is there, but BKB gets used. Old Chicken goes down straight away. Now they'll try to go for the Darkseer. Hook shot off to the side. They'll turn, and so far just a 1-0.
It's the Lycan, though, and without the Lycan, they can't really fight. Void could have just time walked into 3 heroes. Not afraid of too much here. Darkseer looks for the vacuum wall. Doesn't really catch up much. Great Fissure Sonic Wave. Blows up the CDEC
but
backline.
Stolen by Rubik. It goes right back the other way. Now EP in a huge amount of trouble. A lot of low health heroes. CDEC just trying to clean house, and it's the Faceless Void low on health. He won't be able to pursue down the Dark.